Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Radiant Central, and I'm your host, Natasha St. Michael, and thank you so much for joining me. So we're into week 3 of our Healthy Habits monthly challenge, and this month the focus has been water, drinking at least 6 to 8 cups of water a day, which is, I would say, about 2 liters or 2 quarts of water a day. And we're into the 3rd week, and so this week I want to remind everyone about our challenge and to keep going. I've been feeling really great doing this. I've been really enjoying it. I'd have to say it's the first time in my life that I've really just been focusing in on drinking enough water every day and drinking an abundant amount of water. I would say I'm drinking on average about 3 liters or 3 quarts of water a day, and it's been good. I've been noticing, I would say mostly, I've been noticing a big sort of increase in energy, mental alertness, overall well-being. My skin feels better, looks better, things like that. I've definitely noticed sort of changes inside and outside, so it's great. I'm really loving it, and I don't think I'll go back to being dehydrated all the time. Definitely not. I really see the difference, and I feel the difference, and because I'm actually seeing and feeling the difference every day, I'm just naturally wanting to continue with it. So it's been really good. I've been enjoying this challenge a lot, and so what I thought today I'd do is answer some of the questions I've received about water. And the first question was about when is the best time of day to be drinking the water. Well, I would say, what works for you and your schedule, but I would say the best time to be drinking a lot of water would be first thing in the morning, because you're going pretty much a third of the day, right? At least 8 hours in the day you're sleeping without drinking any water throughout the night. So that's a long stretch of time without any liquids, and most people do wake up feeling somewhat dehydrated, because when you're sleeping, you're breathing, and when you breathe, you're excreting, or your waters or liquids are being sort of evaporated with your breath. Okay, so pretty much we lose water when we're breathing, when we're sweating, when we're peeing, things like that. So that's why we're always sort of replenishing the liquids and rehydrating ourselves throughout the day. But in the evening, you're going through a long stretch of time without replenishing those waters. And so first thing in the morning is a really great time to be drinking water. I find that once you do that, you're also getting sort of, if you drink a lot of water, then you'll get a big bulk of that water sort of drunk and finished with, right? So like, let's say someone's goal is to drink 2 liters of water a day. If you can drink 1 liter first thing in the morning, then at least half of it's done, and then you have just the rest of the day to drink it throughout the day. When it comes down to work and drinking water, someone had asked me, what do you do if you can't run to the toilet all the time? What if you have a job that you have to be like sort of stay put, and you go at certain times throughout the day or throughout your shift that you're allowed to use the toilet, but you can't be running to the toilet all the time? Well, one thing I will say is that when you first get onto drinking an increased amount of water, you do run to the toilet more often, but if you continue with it and you're consistent with it, you will notice that over time, and it doesn't take very long, I would say within a week or so, your body starts kind of normalizing with the water, and you're no longer running to the toilet every half an hour or every hour. I find in general, I've noticed that in the beginning I was running around to the toilet a lot, but then over time it's almost like my body got used to that increase of water, that I didn't have to run to the toilet all the time. So that's one thing, your body does adjust to it. But what you can do if really like you can't go and use the toilet and you want to be drinking a lot of water every day, is to drink around work. I would suggest drinking an abundance amount of water maybe 2 hours before you go to work. That gives your body sort of enough time to process it and eliminate it before you get to work. And then when you're at work, to really not, have a little bit of water, but not to be overdoing it, that you're going to feel a need to always be running to the washroom. And then I would say an hour before your shift ends at work, to load up on the water again. Okay, and so that, therefore, you're still getting a lot of water, but you're just not drinking that water while you're doing your shift. You're drinking it way before you start your shift and towards the end of your shift, that once you get off work, then you can use the washroom. So that's how I would organize it. And then the last question I received was, what's the best water to be drinking? Should you be drinking bottled water? Should you be drinking filtered water? What's the best water? Municipal water, tap water? I would say everyone's situation is very different, okay? Everyone, depending where you live in the world and what you have access to, you have to work with that. I know for myself, like I'm from Montreal, Canada. I'm from a city And back when I was living there, I had certain options. I could buy the water, or there was tap water available to me, or I can use a filter, things like that. And then moving into Asia, into Southeast Asia, into Indonesia, here I have well water, but the well water is full of bacteria, so you can't drink it. And you have to therefore buy your water, or you can go to a spring and get your water there. So every area around the world, there's different things available, and I think people have to kind of sort of assess the situation and assess what your options are. I would say in general is the best water that someone can get is the fresh water from a spring, and it coming from a good spring, a very cold water spring that you know that there's no bacteria and it is drinkable. And there's actually, I'll put a link to it, but there's a website called Find a Spring that you can actually find a spring in your area. And you can go there, and most of these places are free. Some places you might have to pay, but you can actually go there with big jugs or big bottles and fill up your own water and have that. I would say that's the best water on earth, okay, because it's fresh, it's coming straight from the source. Then after that, I would say bottled water in glass is always better than bottled water in plastic, but that's not always an option for people. I know for myself living here in Bali, that's not an option. It's majority of it is bottled in plastic, and that's just what we have to do. You know, that's the option here. So it really depends. It depends what you're willing to do, what your budget's like. If you're able to afford to buy bottled water that's in glass, that's always a better alternative to having water that's in plastic. Because mainly the thing is that when you're drinking water that's been in a plastic container, especially if it's been sitting for a long period of time, is that a lot of times the liquid or the waters can absorb some of the plastic in the water, residues, things like that. So if you do have to get water that's been bottled in plastic, do go for the BPA-free plastic and try and find better quality companies that are using better quality plastics, things like that. Do the research to see what's available to you. Then there's also filtration. You can always do water filtration. You can get an at-home water filtration system. Now, there's many different systems available, and some are better than others. I would say the ones to definitely stay away from for your drinking water is to stay away from carbon filters. So filters like Brita filter, that's not really good for drinking water. Yes, it's taking away some of the chlorine if your water's chlorinated, and it takes away the odor, things like that, but it's not taking away maybe antibiotic residues that are in your water, or heavy metals, or other things in your water that could be quite toxic and hazardous to your health. So those types of water filters are not the best. They're good for like a shower because they'll take away that chlorine, and it's good in a shower to have a carbon filter to rid of that chlorine so you're not bathing in it. But to actually be using it for drinking water, I don't think it's the best. I would say I would go more with like a reverse osmosis filter. I'm not too into distilling water and removing everything. I do believe that it's good to be drinking water that does have trace minerals in it, but that's my opinion. I know other people have other opinions on that, but that is also an option. But I would say out of all the filtration systems, reverse osmosis is a good one when it comes down to filtering the water. The downside of it is that there's a lot of water waste and there's a lot of energy used with that type of water filtration. So it's a matter of each person, it's kind of like you have your own ideals and your own standards and your own certain things that you're willing to do and certain things you're not. So I think each person has to kind of decide for themselves. There's also, if you have access to well water and it's good drinkable well water, that's also an option. So there's many different waters out there, and you really have to just do the research yourself to see what's available to you, what you're willing to pay for, what you would perhaps want to invest in over the long term, and things like that. But I'd always say go for the good quality stuff, because water is something that you're ingesting day in and day out. It's something that you're always taking in. And so you do want to have something that is pure. I'd also recommend always kind of staying away from tap water, unless you're living in a region where the tap water is really clean. You know, there are still places in the world where they have clean tap water, but unfortunately in most city areas, it's not so clean. Definitely not. And nowadays, I think more and more with the pollution and all the pesticide use, in agricultural areas as well, the water, that's seeping into the water supply as well. So it's important to do the research, even contact perhaps your area, the government in your area, to find out what the water quality is really like in your area, because they have those statistics. They do the testing and things like that too. So that's something as well you can look into. So that's my information about water. Keep drinking your water. I really have to say this has been a fantastic challenge over this past month. And I look forward to hearing how everyone else is doing. So please let us know, either here on my blog at radiantcentral.com. You can leave a comment there, or on the YouTube video, or on Facebook, or wherever. But let us know how it's going for you. I've been really enjoying this challenge. All right, so have a super fabulous day, everyone, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.